Recording. Yes, go ahead.
Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. So really quick, while we wait for more folks to join, just kind of want to give like a quick overview of what this presentation is going to be. If you were not your school's device manager last year, or if you're not going to be the school device manager this year, or you don't have any interest in serving as their device manager, so checking out Chromebooks to students, maintaining your inventory, this session is probably not for you. And you could probably, there's a ton of other sessions that will be much more valuable. You're welcome to stay and learn, but this is really for our device managers who are so critical to getting devices into students' hands. All right, should we get started, Michael?
Yep.
Cool. So again, this is a one-to-one device management logistics presentation. My name's Carrie Batty. I am the Tech Access Operations Manager for the Department of Technology. And so I am responsible for overseeing all of the students' Chromebooks in our one-to-one program. And I partner with Michael, who I will kick it off to.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Bloomsma. That's my my boy Cooper. And I am the program administrator of digital learning, and I support the middle schools. And I lead the one-to-one program along with Carrie.
And then I also want to shout out to Rajiv Sharma, who's on the call as well, part of our team, being huge in the L4E exchanges as well as student technology. So he'll be moderating for us. So thanks, Rajiv.
My pleasure. Happy to be here, everyone.
So again, who should attend this session? If you are a device manager, have an interest in being a device manager, or want to know what goes into how students get their devices, this session's for you. If you have no interest in serving in that role, then I highly recommend finding another session that is more in your interest. But you're welcome to stay, but I just wanted to let you all know what this presentation is going to cover. And Rajiv will put the slide deck in the chat a couple of times for you guys to review. Okay. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat and we'll try to answer it, or you can put it in the parking lot doc and we'll tag you in our response later on. That's probably, with the 30-minute session, that's probably the best route, is just to put it in that parking lot document. It's linked at the top there. Rajiv will also periodically drop it into the chat too for you guys to access. If you could stay on mute just so it gets we can hear each other, and then take what you learned today and bring it back to your schools. We can go to the next slide. So a quick warm opener, we'll just put it in the chat just to, it's what we do as a department to kind of get to know each other. But if you could just put your name and your school site, and if you want to put your role in there, and then kind of a little fun thing is who traveled the farthest this year. I traveled the highest. I went 9,000 feet up in the mountains in Yosemite, but I don't think I went the farthest mileage wise, but so that's mine. Cool, Seattle, I'm going there in a month. All right, I think we can move along. So we're gonna do an update and timeline on student technology access work. quick refresher on the Emergency Connectivity Fund. That's the ECF Chromebooks that we all got last year. Some beginning of the year device requirements and guidance. And we have some other DOT information resources that we always find that are helpful. And then hopefully there's a time for Q&A, but there's also that parking lot document that you can type in your questions and we'll get back to you. And Rajiv will periodically drop that into the chat. And there's the link to it right there. All right, next slide, please. All right, overview update on student technology access. So last year, and we can go to the next slide. So this, yeah, if you want to go on that.
So I just to highlight that what we're doing in providing tech to all students in a one-to-one manner in the district is directly aligned to one of our district goals to help students be ready for college and career. And this shows kind of our journey over the last couple of years. And now we're in the phase of implementing our device use models in the district, which is pretty much pre-K through third is a CART model where students have devices in the classroom and do not take them back and forth to school. And then starting in 4th grade through 12th, they should start taking them back and forth to school. I'm going to pass it back to Carrie.
So I think I try to share this as much as possible. And I think this is something that the folks in this group in particular should be really proud about of where we've come as a district. If you see that back 2 years ago, so at the end of June 2022, we had about 42% of our students in 4th through 12th grade having a district assigned device to them. And what a huge, push last year we did, especially with those ECF Chromebooks, we're up to 75% of our students in these grade ranges with the device assigned. So that's the official number in May was 24,965. I do know a couple schools after I ran this report got some more in there. So we are at 25,000. And I would anticipate we will be going even higher this year as more schools join us. But this is really something I think we can be proud of getting tech access out there to students. And we can go to the next slide.
Can you see the slide deck still? Sorry, it disappeared off my screen. There it goes. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
And this is just the breakdown in grade level. So you can see the number, the percentages. So in all, we increased our amount of students with a Chromebook by 11,000 students. And that doesn't count the number of students that we did refreshes for, you exchanged for. And again, K through 3 is not included in here because we don't want them taking it home when they're not checked out. They should not be checked out to them. Okay. All right, quick overview or refresher of the ECF program. The program requirements are still in effect this year. So if you remember, for our secondary students, we had that Google form that they need to submit to record their unmet need, and we can go to the next slide, Michael. And so for those of you who are new to device management, the ECF program is the Emergency Connectivity Fund. It was a COVID relief fund that Congress passed during the pandemic that school districts could use to purchase additional devices to address unmet need, to fill the homework gap. And we defining unmet need as if that student did not have a district device, and that student would not be able to participate in learning activities outside of school. So remote learning, homework. And we are required as a district to comply with the program and receive funding to document that unmet need. So there was a parent view survey for the last 2 years, and then we were able to use a Google form that students could just submit on the spot. So I know middle school and high school, we just used that form. And so that Google form is still, that requirement is still in effect going into this school year too. And so that funding helped us greatly expand our district inventory. And a quick reminder, the ECF Chromebooks, these are the ones with the green asset tags, can only be assigned to students, not to any staff members. They should not go into carts. And we shouldn't be kind of saving them for a rainy day in a storage room somewhere on campus. We really want to make that effort to get them assigned and get them used. All right. All right, so we'll just stay on this slide really quick, Michael. So we're going to talk about beginning the year device guidance. There is a Google document with all this information that is linked to the device manager sign-up form. I know some have already viewed that document, and we'll be emailing that to everyone as well who are our device managers. But the next couple slides, we actually are just broke that document into slides, and we'll just go over it here. And then if you have any questions, you can put it in the parking lot document, or you know how to get hold of me via email. And so I know the #1 question amongst our elementary schools is, what about the 4th grade devices? And so we'll talk about that here in a bit. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the first thing we'd like schools to do as this beginning of the year is to identify a site device manager. So I think right before this call, there was 6 signups so far. So that's the Google form on that first bullet point. So feel free to, if you're going to be that person this year, please sign up. This gets you on our list so we know how to contact you. We can share information. A lot of times I find out something that's really quick to share it with all of you so you can get it out to your communities to as a quick kind of information flow. We also have some Follett. So Destiny is the asset management program we're using to check out devices. If you are new to this role, highly recommend sign up for a 20-minute training with me. Be one-on-one, screen share. I'll walk you through the entire program. Any questions that come up, we'll be able to answer right on the spot. I think it's more valuable to do that than like a help desk ticket where we're kind of responding back and forth. So if you have time, highly recommend. Even if you're not new to this role and you want to refresh, happy to schedule something with you. You can, tons of times available. You just pick one that works for you. We'd also like all schools to track down their unaccounted for ECF Chromebooks. So these are the Chromebooks that were received last year that should have been assigned to students. Most schools receive exactly the number they needed. So if there's leftovers, either students returned them or we just had extras. It's really important that we track those down and just confirm that they're at your school site. This helps us with an audit if and when it comes. Other school districts have already started to be audited by the federal government. 2 types of audits have happened. One, they ask for our assignment lists, which is why it's so important that we're using Destiny. Never give a Chromebook to a student without checking it out. And the second one is they're visiting school sites and asking to see if, they'll see a list. Oh, there says there's 20 unassigned. Where are those? I know a school in the East Bay has already had an audit. So those are 2 things that we want to be, we want to keep a lookout for. And so if we do this now, saves us in the long run. So that's something we're asking everyone to do. On that link, there's instructions on what we're asking. And I think it's pretty easy to follow step by step. There's a lot of resources in there. So hopefully that isn't too much of a task for us to do. Next thing is, and this is a big one, the student hotspots are sunsetting. There will be no additional hotspots going out this school year. Those that are currently assigned to students will remain active through the end of September. The ECF funds, which not only do we use for the Chromebooks, but have been paying for the hotspot service the last 2 years, has come to an end with the public health emergency being declared over. So the federal government did not extend that. So we would like schools to help us message to families. This message has gone into the lead bulletin already. We'll get it onto parent view and student view for secondary students. There is another program. It's a long-term program that families can apply to through the FCC. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. And families can go to getinternet.gov to apply. There's also paper copies in both English and Spanish. And that information is linked where it says message on the presentation. There's also a phone number and an email address to a helpline to help applicants through the process. And then we also highly recommend that sites create an accountability plan for their site. So how you manage, and maybe Michael, if you want to jump in there, but we have a sample from James Lick Middle School, but we really want to create a sites owning an accountability plan at their site.
Yeah, due to time, we can't really jump into it, but feel free to check it out and make a copy of it and use it for your own site. It's just basically how they introduced device care and expectations. We found that the pilot one-to-one schools that did that really well had the much less student breakage and loss of their devices. So there should be, in a lot of schools, integrated into their whole school-wide kind of culture and rules and consequences.
And partner with your digital learning partner. I think we've met a lot of them today on the presentation, various presentations, but partner with them to kind of bounce ideas off them too. And then this is just the device management role. I don't think anything's really changed from last year. The stipend's still available for certificated teachers only. You can split it with one other certificated teacher if you'd like. There'd be a 50-50 split. And these are kind of the tasks, but everything in that guidance document is really what we're going to this year. I think we can, yep. I'm okay skipping this slide as it is touched upon on 4th and 5th grade, but there's device care agreement slide deck that we'd like to go over with our 4th graders before they receive their Chromebooks. It's good to have the 5th graders have a refresh too of that slide deck. And then K through 5 has digital learning starting guides that teachers can use to should leverage for using technology in the classroom. And go ahead and do it. Next slide. So we could go, I think we can skip K3 right now. So we'll do 4th grade, which is, I think, the most popular question amongst the elementary schools. The devices are here they're with RA Jones, our vendor. They're being configured right now. They will not be delivered until after August 30th. So the 10-day enrollment count. In the meantime, we would like our 4th grade teachers to review the device care and agreement slide deck that the digital learning team put together. We want to kind of build up digital citizenship, digital agency, what it means to appropriately, hold a Chromebook and transport it. In that slide deck, there's a couple slides that are for teachers only. They have other links in there to, I think Common Sense Media is in there, but like lesson plans on, what not to share. And so it's really good that the students do those lessons first before we give them the devices. There's also digital learning starting guides that I mentioned previously. We'd also like the 4th graders to take the student parent to send home and collect back a student parent tech agreement form. It's kind of a building block to some form of accountability, recognizing this is a district device, it's free to use, treat it with respect, don't eat around it. And then when it's asked, it's time to return it, it needs to be returned. So once those are done, as well as the accounting for the missing ECF Chromebooks, so kind of 3 steps, then go ahead and submit this Google form. That's the 3rd bullet point. And that's just a request form saying everything's done, we're ready to schedule. And RA Jones can mass deliver in bulk. So as soon as we take care of this stuff, we can start getting those devices to the 4th graders. And then super important, assign it in Destiny. So we have that record. And there's a Destiny training slide deck here that you can review to familiarize yourself with if you need help. And there's also those live trainings. All right, next slide, please. For 5th graders, most of them should have it. 75% of the 5th graders have their Chromebooks already. So at this point, unless you did not go one-to-one, in that case, we'll probably work separately to try to build you there, but schedule a bring your device back to school day as that's the first day you're going to start using them. We recommend August 30th, 10-day enrollment count. You're going to have kids moving around, transferring around. This is just based on our experience last year of do not do it on the first day of school. Trust me, it's mass chaos. So I would recommend, August 30th. I did make an inventory sheet if you guys want to use it, or if you have your own system in place, perfectly fine. But something like you could share with your fifth grade teachers to kind of like document, like, okay, who lost their device, who broke it, who's a new student, and then it just kind of helps you know how many additional Chromebooks you need to request. It's purely up to you if you want to use that. And then once you've figured that out, you can request more with that Google form. It's the same Google form as the fourth grade devices, so you can choose to submit it twice if you want to do one for fourth grade, one for fifth grade, or just use the same form and submit it once. It's up to you. The fourth grade devices and the fifth grade devices will be delivered separately. Fourth grade is with Ari Jones, fifth grade is with us. But that will be communicated in a follow-up email. Okay, next slide. High school, okay, secondary students. So the process really hasn't changed that much. It's the same ECF Chromebooks, making sure we use the Student Technology Unmet Needs Survey as part of recording the unmet need and then checking it out to them in Destiny. I did, since I was creating that fifth grade kind of inventory sheet, I did one for secondary as well. You're free to use it if you want. You can share it with like all of your advisory teachers. That's where we're recommending you kind of conduct an inventory of what's broken, what's missing. Totally up to you if you want to use it. And then as far as new students, I'm already working. I know, Grace, I saw you on the call. We're already working together on distribution lists. So I wouldn't worry too much about new students, but it's a good tool to use to kind of do an inventory of broken and lost devices. And then there's the same Google form that we've been using last year. I made some modifications just so we can get some data of how many devices are actually for new students versus broken or lost. And I would recommend to prioritize sixth grade and ninth grade and newcomers before replacing a student's device who broke it, just so we can get those students who never had one up to speed first. Next slide, please. Again,
Sorry, Carrie. Time check. We have about 7 minutes because the other.
We can skip this. I've talked about this enough. The ECF. There is a QR code you can use instead of the bit.ly, so students can just scan the code on their cell phone and take the ECF survey. So I think that's helps with time. Next slide. And everything I just talked about is in this document, and you can go through at your own pace. There's tons of links there. So hopefully you find it helpful, all the resources we put in there. So go ahead, next slide. And I'm going to kick it over to Michael as my voice is about to go.
Hi, everyone. We're running out of time. And again, please use that parking lot document. I saw a lot of questions. Also, when you chat, if you click where it says "to" at the bottom and change it to everyone, then everyone will see it. Otherwise, it goes to me or Carrie. So just a reminder about a few things. Most of your schools have a digital learning facilitator that works closely with our Department of Technology, and they are a great resource to reach out to. A lot of schools have a student tech team, which we found extremely valuable, especially in our one-to-one pilot schools. And like we were talking about earlier, very important to make sure that you go over the device care and transport expectations with students. And on the left here, there's a document link that kind of shares some best practices we've learned over the last about 7-ish years. And a bunch of great resources. So we have the 4th and 5th grade device care agreement slide deck, which is awesome. There's also a student take-home letter that you can send home to parents. We are building out a similar deck to the 4th, 5th for secondary, but we don't have it quite yet. But there's some samples of those expectations, and then there's also a slide deck from James Lick. And again, there's the document. And I want to stress this, all cohorts have a digital learning partner. So if you click on that link, you'll get a sheet that shows you who your digital learning partner is. And we all go out and visit schools the first 2 weeks of school. So if you have any questions, or if you really want some kind of hands-on support, I highly recommend emailing them sooner than later. And they will be out at your sites anyway. So it's a great time to connect with them, and they can help you kind of get started with what you need to get started with.
They'll also come back, so don't feel pressured for for August, but yeah.
So there's the cohorts, and I again support the middle schools. Reminder that we have digital agency curriculum. I think there's another slide with the new SFUSD created curriculum. But for secondary, there's great lessons on Common Sense Media. And sorry, I'm just seeing what's left here. And then at the end, we have a bunch of additional resources. And actually, I'm not going to go through all those. We're almost out of time here. We've got 4 minutes. So we have time for maybe a couple questions. And again, it's really important for you to put any questions in that parking lot document. And Rajiv, can you put the feedback link in the chat? We'd love to hear your feedback on this session. And again, I'm getting some personal chats here so just please add that to the parking lot. I won't have time to answer it right now. We got about 3 minutes. Any questions? Unmute yourself, or if you put it in the chat, make sure you select everyone from the drop down.
Yes, please. You can send them back in the interoffice mail to the hotspot question.
Any other questions? If there's no other questions, please fill out the feedback. Rajiv, can you? Oh, you did already. Thank you. We're probably going to hop off in a minute or two because the next session starts right at 3:20.
Yeah, and
Thank
the
you
next
all.
session that we're hosting is the exact same thing. So feel free if you want to listen again, but there's other sessions that are. I know everyone loves listening to my voice, but
The assigned tech person, look in the slide deck for where it says digital learning partner and click that link, and it shows you who your person is. All right, we're going to hop off and end this meeting so we can start the next one. Thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate you joining us.
thank you all.